Sometimes in Power BI, when we're dealing with data, the data that we have is too fragmented. Here's an example. This is behaviour types from a school. And we've got lots of different behaviour types. But if I convert this table into a bar chart, you'll see that because we've got a real mix of different severities of behaviour here, it's difficult for us to really pick out if we have a problem. We have a big spike here, which is for disruptive behaviour in class, which is probably not the most severe category. And for categories like assault and bullying, where we only have maybe 3 incidents, they don't really get emphasised enough. It would make a lot more sense to group together severe, moderate and less severe or least severe categories of behaviour into little groups. And then we could separate them, analyse them separately, or create graphs where we could drill down from a top level where we can see behaviour incidents by severity category, and then we could drill down into the individual incidents themselves. We can do that in Power BI, and we can do it relatively easily and straightforwardly using a part of Power BI called Power BI groups. So that's what this video is going to show you, how to create some Power BI groups. And we're going to use this example of behaviour incidents and behaviour types in a school to help us understand how that works. Okay, to create a Power BI group, what we do is we first of all identify the column that we want to base the group on in the Fields pane at the far right hand side of the screen here. Identify the column, it's called type in mine here, and I can right click on the type, and one of the options you'll get is the option to create a new group. So I'll click on the option to create a new group, and then you'll get given this screen. It gives it a default name, which I'm going to amend slightly. I'm just going to call it type categories. And the group type is a list. Now, if you were basing this on a column that was a numeric value, you'd also have the option to create what it called a bin, which is just a numerical way of, again, grouping values together into bins. This is just text-based, so we've only got the option to create a list-based group. And you can see here, down the side here, we have all the ungroup values, and we're going to create our groups by adding them to this right-hand side of the screen, where it will actually define what groups those particular values are in. So let's create our first one, and I'm going to first of all create this one as our sort of most severe category. So I'm going to pick out the ones in here that look like the most severe kind of incidents that we could have in school. And I've picked out the first group of them. I'm just holding down the control button here so I can pick out more than one. And then I'll click this group option. You can see it brings them across onto the other side of the screen there. This is my, I'm going to call these category 1. In my school, you might call them severe, you might call them something else, call them anything you want. All you need to do is overtype whatever appears in this sort of top level there with the name as you want it to appear on your visualizations. So there's our first group. Let's create another group here. Our category 2 ones here. And again, I'm more or less just choosing these randomly. You'll have more time to pick these out. I'm just picking out various ones here. And I'll group them together. And I'll call these category 2. And then, you've guessed it, we'll do a category 3. That will include all the other ones. I do actually have a category type called none there. I could actually choose to click that button, which will just as a default put anything that's been uncategorized into that group there. You can choose that or not. If you want to be very specific about what groups you have or don't have, you can choose to ignore all the non-group values as well if you don't create this other group. So now if I click on OK, you'll see that once it's finished thinking about it, I have effectively what looks like another column that I can use on my visualizations. So if I look down here, once it's updated, there we've got a new column there, effectively a new column. It's not really a column, but it treats it as a new column called type categories. And you'll see in front of it there, I've got a little symbol that identifies it as a particular group. So now I can use it on my visualizations. If I convert this back just temporarily into a table, You remember that this is where we started off. Just to show you how this works, I can drag type categories across, drop it on the table, and we can see now how Power BI has allocated its categories to those groups. If I take off type categories now and go back and convert this to the bar chart that we saw earlier, I can add type categories to the axis. So if I add it above type, I can now see a structure I can drill into. So there's all our category 1 incidents there, category 2 and category 3 incidents, and you'll know this already, but I can now drill down, and I can either drill down so it expands each of those categories, in which case I have something that looks like this, or alternatively, if I go back up to the top level, I can turn on drill down mode, and I can explore all the ones that are category 1. So let's open up the category 1 incidents now just by clicking on category 1, and there's a breakdown of all my category 1 incidents. So that's using groups in Power BI. There are other ways of doing the same thing. You can do this by creating conditional columns in Power Query Editor, but I think that's a really simple and straightforward way of allocating your existing behaviour types to behaviour categories, and hence allowing you to create better analyses like this one.